Commander Zara Chen stood on the command deck of New Atlantis, watching the alien fleet descend through Earth's storm-darkened skies. The Haidari had returned, just as the orbital sensors had predicted. Through the reinforced transparasteel, she could see their sleek vessels cutting through the perpetual rain like silver knives, their hulls gleaming with the same bioluminescent patterns that had haunted humanity's nightmares for 3 decades. "They think they've won," muttered Chief Engineer Marcus Webb, his weathered hands gripping the tactical display. Same mistake they made 30 years ago. The Haidari had been so confident in their first assault. An aquatic species from the oceanic world of Kepler 438b, they had studied Earth's surface composition for decades before making their move. Their plan had been elegant in its simplicity: flood the planet, drown the land-dwelling humans, and claim Earth's vast oceans as their new home. They had shattered polar ice caps with kinetic bombardments, triggered tsunamis with seismic charges, and redirected asteroids to crash into major population centers. Within 6 months, sea levels had risen by nearly 200 meters. Coastal cities vanished beneath the waves. Entire nations disappeared. The Haidari watched from orbit as billions of humans died, convinced that the survivors would soon follow. They had underestimated humanity's most dangerous trait: adaptation. "Signal from Neo-Tokyo," reported Communications Officer Liu. "Admiral Yamamoto confirms all Pacific Flotilla cities are combat-ready." Zara nodded, her eyes never leaving the alien formation. The Haidari ships were beautiful, she had to admit. Organic curves that spoke of evolution in deep ocean trenches, bioluminescent communication arrays that pulsed with alien intelligence. But beauty meant nothing in war. "What's the status on the Atlantic cities?" she asked. "New Venice reports full operational capacity. Hamburg Float is requesting additional ammunition for their railgun arrays, but they're combat effective. London Thames has launched their submarine wings and is standing by for coordinated assault." The first human floating city had been little, more than a collection of hastily welded oil platforms and repurposed cruise ships. Humanity had been dying, desperate, clinging to whatever could keep them above the endless waters. But desperation bred innovation, and innovation bred miracles. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the architect of the Floating City program, had been a marine engineer before the flood. She had looked at the endless ocean and seen not humanity's grave, but humanity's new frontier. The first prototype had been New Atlantis, a hexagonal platform city capable of housing 50,000 people, powered by wave generators and fusion reactors, armed with weapons systems salvaged from drowned military bases. The Haidari had ignored these early settlements, dismissing them as the dying gasps of a doomed species. That had been their second mistake. "Enemy vessels are beginning their attack run," Webb announced. "Same formation as the Buenos Aires assault. They're targeting our power grid first." The Haidari strategy hadn't changed in 30 years. Disable power. Then surface forces would emerge from the depths to board and capture the floating cities. It had worked on the smaller, poorly defended settlements in the early days. But humanity had learned. "All cities, this is New Atlantis actual," Zara spoke into her comm. "Execute Protocol Leviathan. Show them what we've built in 30 years. The response was immediate and devastating. New Atlantis's hull plates retracted, revealing massive railgun batteries that had been hidden beneath false decking. The city's central spire unfolded like a mechanical flower, exposing the quantum targeting array that could track a fish at 50 kilometers. Around the Pacific, similar transformations occurred as humanity's floating cities revealed their true nature. They weren't just cities. They were warships. Each one was a fully armed battle platform, designed not just to survive on the hostile post-flood Earth, but to fight for it. The first salvo caught the Haidari completely off guard. Kinetic projectiles traveling at significant fractions of light speed punched through their biohulls like tissue paper. The aliens' organic armor, evolved to withstand the crushing pressures of deep ocean trenches, proved useless against human engineering. "Direct hit on their flagship," Webb shouted over the thunder of the railguns. "Their formation is breaking apart." But the Haidari weren't defenseless. Bioluminescent patches along their hulls flared bright blue, and streams of superheated plasma lanced out toward the human cities. New Venice took a direct hit, her shields flaring as the energy washed over her armored hull. But the city held, her crew already returning fire with missile clusters that bloomed like deadly flowers across the alien formation. Commander Zara Chen watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The Haidari had studied humanity for decades, but they had studied the wrong humanity, the land-dwelling, gravity-bound species that had once called the dry continents home. They hadn't accounted for what humans became when pushed to the edge of extinction. The floating cities fought with a coordinated precision that spoke of 30 years of preparation. They moved across the ocean surface like a pack of predators, their fusion drives churning the waters beneath them into steam. When the Haidari tried to submerge and attack from below, they found the city's hulls bristling with depth charges and torpedo tubes. Neo-Tokyo reports enemy surrender signals, Liu announced. The surviving Haidari vessels are requesting parley. Zara allowed herself a smile. 30 years ago, the Haidari had looked at Earth and seen a planet ripe for conquest. They had seen a species bound to land, dependent on solid ground and stable weather. They had tried to drown humanity, confident that water would be their domain alone. They had never imagined that humans would learn to love the ocean as much as they once loved the land. That floating cities would become not just refuges but homes. That a species driven from their birthplace would forge themselves into something stronger, something that could not just survive the flood, but master it. As the alien fleet retreated toward orbit, their bioluminescent distress signals painting the stormy sky in patterns of defeat, Zara looked out over the endless ocean that had become humanity's new domain. The Haidari had tried to drown them. Instead, they had taught humanity to swim, and now the seas belonged to the children of the flood.